Hi, everybody. Welcome back to my channel. I'm Susan Lynn. I'm a psychic and a medium. Thank you for joining me today. And if you're new here, thank you so much. Let me just explain that I am quasi-channeling these messages. I am going to be doing this in a light channel, which means that I will be 60% tuned in to my special spirit guides that help me answer political energy psychic questions. And the 40% is Susan, part of the equation. And I'm simply just going to be translating what they're saying into words and sentences, which sometimes is easier than others. So bear with me here. Okay, as we get started, I have taken your questions today, and I'm going to be answering those, and I'm going to be getting the answers through the spirit guides. So let's get started with Lori Kittle has a question. What is the chance of Judge Cannon derailing these indictments when this case goes to trial? Was this all for naught once again? Okay, this is probably the most asked question that I've seen out there. I get it. We all have PTSD. We've all been Charlie Brown trying to kick that football just to have it ripped out from under us by the Republicans time after time after time. But also the spirit guides would say, it's time for us to start looking at the glass as half full instead of half empty. We have a fantastic Democratic president. We are not in a huge recession. We're really coming out of the dark, dark days of the Trump presidency and the lingering darkness that was left over from when he was in office. Okay, now, is Cannon going to derail this? I don't think so. When I go into her energy, here's what's happening. First of all, she's mad. She's basically sitting at her kitchen counter bitching about being curtailed or limited, harassed on her case. She's saying, these people are on my case. I can't get them off of my case. Okay, now who is she talking about? The guides would say some kind of governing body or authority over her, whether that is an ethics committee or simply a higher court or combination of all of the above. She basically is being curtailed. She's being hemmed in. And I have this feeling of, I can't maneuver. I can't do what I want to do. Everything she does, let me clarify that, because they showed me court cases and I translated that into everything she does, which is not exactly a direct translation, right? When she's in her courtroom and she's making her rulings, those rulings are now under scrutiny to a degree that she feels is unfair. She feels that she's being pointed out, that they are spending an inordinate amount of time looking over my cases, that they aren't other judges. That's what she's saying to whoever this is she's talking to in her kitchen. She talks about it nonstop. I see her talking on the phone. I see her talking in person. I see her talking to her clerks or her employees. I mean, basically, she's just bitching about this nonstop. Okay. So what that tells me is that she's really got to walk a fine line here. Nobody wants trouble. So what the guides are telling me is nobody wants trouble. So what that means is that, again, this is the same energy that's permeating everything. And the spirit guides have told you guys about this, that now that certain things have been uncovered, and here they would be showing me Justice Thomas with Harlan Crow, certain inequities have been uncovered. Everybody is minding their P's and Q's because they know that, this is a sad statement, but they know that the news cycle will just go on to another breaking story and they'll leave them alone, right? So if everybody can get very, very disciplined about their ethics, about what they say publicly, and just literally, go mute, disappear, go mute. The hopes are that the news cycle will move on and hopefully move on to the sacrificial lamb. They've talked to you about this every single video, that the Republicans are willing at some point to offer up Trump or offer up even whoever they need to offer up to get the pressure off of them. And what that means is get the eyeballs off of their dark money secrets. The guides have told you this, right? The Federalist Society and those people, be they dark money people, whoever they are, we all know some names that we could say here. Those people don't want this spotlight. They don't want this investigative journalist looking at what they're doing. They want to really operate in the dark. So all of this exposure is bad for business, so to speak. So they don't want it. So they're sending their messages through their couriers, their people, however they disseminate information, to these people that you could say are controlled by the dark money. And they're getting the memo that says, stand down, be quiet, stop being an activist, fill in the blank, politician, judge, whatever it is. Stop doing that. You're drawing attention. Stop. Right? So this is what's happening. They are telling her to stop. Now, will she stop? That's the $1 million question, because they literally just showed me a picture of MTG who's getting the same message. You know, I'm seeing this picture of, I don't know if you saw the video of Trump getting off the plane in one of his two, either Georgia or wherever it was, he was North Carolina, one of South Carolina, his two campaign rallies just over this last few days. And there was MTG in a red dress outside of the cordon for the regular, people, but also outside of the Secret Service cordon. And she goes running up to him and he just walks right past her, right? People are starting to get the message. You're out. You're either causing me trouble or I don't need your help because your help is trouble, right? So MTG's not getting the message. She's just continuing. She doesn't care. Boebert does not care. Matt Gaetz cares a little bit. So we're going to see, right? Does Eileen care? Does Eileen, Judge Cannon, does she care? Well, she doesn't care. To be honest with you, she does not care. And that's what probably you intuitives are picking up, that she's going to be a problem for us. But I was just on Linda G's channel and we both came up with the fact that Judge Cannon is not going to be a problem. I don't know how, I don't know why, but they're going to move her to the side. They're going to go around her. They're going to make her recuse herself because the stakes are too big here for the powers that control these people. It's not about it's not about you, Judge Cannon. You're a pawn. You've made the mistake of believing that you're more than a pawn. And now we're going to show you that you're just a pawn. And we're going to slap you with some sort of disciplinary, motion or something. So it's up to you. What do you want to do here? Because we're ready to go to the mat over this. This is the energy. We will let you within you've got some wiggle room. And that wiggle room is absolutely out of bounds to the rest of us. But she's not going to throw this for Trump. You may see her do something that people raise an eyebrow at, that maybe us on the other side say wrong, foul, all these things. But she's not going to throw it. She's not going to do something that's completely out of the bounds of there's plus minus. There's a little bit of wiggle room. Okay. She's going to stay in that wiggle room, or they're going to remove her. They're going to make her recuse herself. I don't see her being a big problem. Okay. So that's the first thing. And FC says, what's going to happen with the corrupted and disgraced Judge Cannon? I tell you guys have tons of questions about this. So I think after that, after this, she gets the memo. If you want to continue being a judge, you have to understand that you have to follow our orders. And yes, we allowed you to froth at the mouth and bite people. We allowed you to get your rabies on full force, but you have to be able to turn it off because we own you. And if you can't turn your rabies off, then we're going to have to impound you. We're going to have to take you to the vet. Poor dogs everywhere. Or raccoons for that matter. Right. So hopefully that makes sense. I feel like she got the memo. I feel like, you know, they often tell me this statement whenever I go into judges and I go into dark money. This is the statement I hear over and over again. And I've heard it for months, which is, we want to live to rule another day. So what they're saying is, we would rather retreat and lose the battle in hopes that at some point in our future, we may come out again and win the war. So you're going to see these dark money people put the kibosh on people. You're going to see, and we've said this to you, Justice Thomas thinks that he's in control. He really does. He thinks that he is more powerful than the president because he's served through presidents and he has a lifelong appointment. That's not true. They can take him out. It's just like your mama said, I brought you in this world, I can take you out this world. That's what the Federalist Society and all the other dark money, it's not just the Federalist Society, it's many, many, many pots of dark money, many from other countries. Believe me when I say they can take you out. How about, was it Kennedy? Who was it that stepped down that Trump was talking to? And they have that video of them walking shoulder to shoulder. And then he looks at him and Trump just goes like this. And he was gone. He stepped down just like that. When the powers that be say, sit down and shut up, you better sit down and shut up. That's all I got to say about Judge Cannon. We'll see if she learns her lessons. She might not. We'll see. But I don't see her being a big problem. For our case, I don't see it being, and plus, well, I'll talk, there's a question in here somewhere about does Jack have more indictments? Yes, this is the first indictment, you guys. He's loaded with indictments, and the next indictment is going to be in DC. So they don't even care about Judge Cannon. She's a gnat, you know, she's nothing. Okay, let's move on. Ace 2, 3, 4. Do you feel Trump will be held in contempt of court by threatening Jack Smith, his family, or jewelry, or inciting violence during any of Trump's upcoming trials? Contempt of court. You know what's really sad as well is I see him being held in contempt of court, not for that. I wish I could say that I see that, but I don't see it. It's a very sad statement about our current situation. But I do see him being held in contempt of court, specifically around other countries, about talking about things that could be not classified, but could be harmful to the United States in some way regarding other countries. That's what I see. I see them saying, okay, you can do your little Mickey Mouse threatening whatever you want to do, because for one thing, and they're telling me this has already happened, right? That if Trump says, go out and attack people, which he said, he has said that. When he says that, if these big dummies go out and attack people, they're just going to get arrested. That finally we have a functioning ATF, FBI, CIA, NSA, all of the organizations that deal with these people. They're really starting to come back completely online. It took that long, but they're just now really getting plugged back in, and they know that we'll deal with it. I guess the bottom line is that the DOJ and the judges know that this is handled, and there's also a sense that it flushes out would-be perpetrators. I mean, I don't know if I would want to fly that close to the sun myself, right? Like, shouldn't we maybe stop them from flushing out the perpetrators? But they seem to feel confident that 99.8% of the time they're going to nab these people before they do anything bad, and it's going to help them flush them out. So that's why they're not really writing on this, but they're draw the line at our intelligence or our international security. That's where they draw the line. That's what I'm getting. this is what I'm getting, guys. This is energy, and energy can change. But right now, this is what, when I go into that energy, this is what I'm getting. And it pans out because they haven't contempt of court him yet. He's over there spewing stuff right and left, right? So I just don't see them doing that. It's a big, long reason why, which I'm going to do a whole nother video on why, specifically the whole video on why America cannot deal with this problem, why they can't why we can't be honest about our money laundering problem, our Russia problem, our Saudi Arabia problem, our Trump problem. Why can't we talk openly about this stuff? Why can't the government admit some of these things that DeSantis, his assistant for over a year, was a Russian national, which by law, you have to establish that person as a FARA, as a FARA. And DeSantis didn't do that for over a year. And the only reason he did it was because good journalists, investigative people kept beating the drum about it. So finally he had to do that. Why can't we talk about this, right? So I'm going to do a whole nother video about that, because that is something that we all need to talk about and we all need to understand, because this is where we're going next. Okay, but let's get back to what we're doing today. Giselle 222 says, if 45 does flee to another country, how will justice truly be served? I would like to amend that and say, if 45 dies tomorrow, how will justice fully be served? That's my problem. But Giselle, let's answer your question. I do think there's a possibility that he does flee. I would give it right now, today in mid-June, about 40%, 35 to 45%. But here's the thing you have to understand. He is now an indicted person. And if he goes to a place without extradition, like Qatar or one of these places without U.S. extradition, we will send SEAL Team 6 to get him. No less than SEAL Team, whichever number happens to win that particular mission. Because the guides have told you, and this is what I just talked about doing this separate video. This is an ex-president. If our ex-president is running around loose throughout the world, we have enemies. And those enemies would love nothing better than to capture him, parade him around in shackles, and get him to spew pro-North Korea rhetoric. This we can't have this. You guys don't understand. The United States is not going to look like a big fat dummy for this big fat dummy. They will send somebody and they will collect him very quickly. And it's not going to be pretty. It's not going to be push his head down to get in the helicopter. Remember how Trump said we should just bang their head when you put them in the cop car? Yeah. Well, if they could lift him, they would toss him in the helicopter. Now, I know our SEAL members are strong, but come on, everybody's got a limit. So anyway, I did see something that I want to share, and it hasn't gone away, which means that the energy is strong. I see that guy. I have to be real careful when I talk about certain countries. As a matter of fact, there's a country that you'll never probably even hear me say the name of, and it isn't even Russia, because that's how bad they are. There's another country, Saudi Arabia. The prince of Saudi Arabia, I see his face. I see him saying, I've talked about this for over a year. Are you missing this? I have this. Now, whether this is Trump that he's holding by his collar, or whether he's holding documents, but I see him, and I've said this story has never changed. I see him calling up Biden, the White House, directly and saying, yeah, I've got this for you. And Biden going, no, you're not giving that to me. No, we're going to go through diplomatic channels. Have your diplomat talk to my diplomat. I'm not getting involved in this, right? So I've seen that. I've said those exact words. I don't know how many times. Now, could that be that Trump has fled there? Yes. Could it be that he has documents that he just wants to rub our face in? publicly, yes, that's why he would call Biden and not go through diplomatic channels, would all be hush hush. No one would ever know about it. But if he puts a call into the White House and then tells his press, yeah, I called President Biden because I found this document. I don't know how it got here. I wonder if Trump left it here when he was here talking about the new golf tournament that we're doing together, right? That's the kind of passive aggressive, really bad scenario that can happen here. It can make America look weak. It can make us be a target for attacks. It's bad. This is the kind of thing that they're trying to not let happen. But the truth of the matter is that we're not in control here. We don't know what Trump has given away or sold. We don't know when it's going to show up. We don't know what it's going to cost us. And more than likely, we're probably going to have to deal with it in a public way, which is not at all what the intelligence community wants to do, because it makes us look weak. It makes us a target. So hopefully that makes sense. I don't know. When you guys ask questions, the guides want to talk about 7 different things. I am sorry for that. If you watch this channel, you know that that's just what's going to happen. Once I'm connected into the energy and I'm talking to the guides, they want to flesh it out. They want to talk about all the corroborating reasons why this is like this. I don't know. Maybe it's me, my Virgo mind. They're trying to convince me. I don't know. Thank you for your question. And Lady Day 58 says, do you see the verdict for the Florida Trump documents trial happening before the 2024 election? I do. I was just hearing a legal eagle analyst talking to NPR this morning. I think the legal eagles think that the fastest we can get this court case, the fastest we can get it done is March of next year. I don't see just like we indict Trump and then everything goes quiet until March. I don't see that. I see almost an indictment every 6 weeks. Every 4 to 6 weeks, a new indictment. 1 or 2 more from Jack Smith. 1 more from, or no, not 1. Jesus. Oh, I don't know. Multiple from Fonnie Willis. I didn't know that. Maybe another one from Alvin Bragg. Maybe another one from Tish James. It's a pile on, folks. It's a pile on. So what you're going to see is multiple indictments, one after another, after another, after another. So I don't see. So the other thing is, as these indictments pile on, Trump, he's not in the best. The guides want to say he's not the best. They called him a specimen. He's not the best specimen of health or physical specimen, human physical. I don't know how to make that into a sentence. He's not the best specimen of human physical health. Okay. That's hilarious. He's fat and out of shape and old. Okay. I'm going to translate that for you. And you're welcome. This is why Susan hangs around to, make this stuff make sense. And the stress on him, you guys, I know he seems like he is in control of his own thoughts or his own actions. He's not. He's got pressure. He's got handlers. And a narcissist does not do well with handlers, right? You have to handle a narcissist in a certain way. And that doesn't sit well with them. So he's got that pressure. He's got the pressure of all of these political attacks. Chris Christie is just literally I love Chris Christie for this, right? I love Chris Christie because he's not a threat. He's not ever going to be a threat. I'm not worried about it. He's like the axe guy that walks into the corporation and fires everybody and then walks out because he knows he's never going to get held accountable. And all he's doing is his job, right? This is Chris Christie. He's the axe. He's the hatchet man. I worry about Liz Cheney because she's not the hatchet man. She's the one that puts the fuse and then goes 7,000 miles away and in her closet pushes the plunger, because she has an ulterior motive. She wants that power, and she very well could get the power. So I worry about Liz Cheney, even though she's also an agitator or a disruptor within the Republican Party. I love Chris Christie because he's a disruptor and an agitator, and I don't have to worry about him being anything. How did I get there from that question? So the bottom line is that he's not running. I'm afraid he's not even going to be alive for us to see for us to get our justice. That's what I'm upset about, to be honest with you. So hopefully that answers your question, Lady Day. He's not going to be, they have to, you know what I said to myself last night, or the guide said to me, was we have two options. And one is Trump continues to stay a free man until June of next year, May of next year, and we lose democracy, or we keep democracy and we get rid of him. And I know we keep democracy. I've seen how this book ends. I've seen the ending. I know it's going to be okay. So he's going to go. He's gone. He's not going to be here. And not only me, this is, again, I was in Sedona with a whole busload of awesome psychics, and we all had the same download about that independently of each other, right? So for me, when you see a bunch of psychics that don't normally see or talk to each other, because we had never even met each other before, come up with the same reasoning, the same outcome, it's pretty, you could pretty much count on it. Okay. So let's move on. Pamela E says, what do you see in Governor Gavin Newsom's of California, of his future? That's a really good question. I'm not going to go way into it, but I would say that he is angling and positioning is the word they want to use. He's positioning himself for a run at something. He knows something is up. It's people are saying he's angling for 28. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Americans cannot keep track of what's happening next month. He would totally be wasting all of this energy, all of this political clout. He's risking his political reputation because he's out there saying we need to add a new amendment to the Constitution, and the amendment needs to talk about guns, and it needs to really put some controls around guns. That's a big risky thing. You don't see many politicians talking that kind of big picture stuff, much less somebody with as much to lose as the governor of California. I know he's been out in front in the past. I know he's a guy that's out in front, but that was when it was about California. This is about national news, changing our amendments. That's a big deal. Okay. There's no reason why he would come out and say that if he wasn't trying to get the mantle of something, be the leader of something. He really is. It's not about 28. It's about 24. So let's watch him. I like Gavin Newsom. I really do. I would love to see him as a president, but he is a bit of a lightning rod. The Republicans in the heartland of the United States are not fans of California, right? In Texas, they dislike Californians because we've had a lot of Californians come into our tech area, into Austin, our Texas Silicon Valley, and it's just freaking Republicans out bad, even if they're actually most of them Republicans, but it still freaks them out. So I don't think Gavin Newsom's got a cakewalk to the presidency, but he's really expending a lot of his political capital right now for some reason. Something is going on. Keep your eye on him. There is definitely something going on. And I think he knows things that we don't know about the future. I'm going to move on from that. And Nancy, the water chick, says, what is with Miss Lindsey Graham? What a scene was on display. So you probably, maybe you have or have not seen this, but who was he on? Was he on Ari Melber's? He was on somebody's show who is a pretty good I forget who it was, a man, and he's a pretty good, hard hitting. I think he's on MSNBC. And Graham lost it. Graham basically screamed at him. And it wasn't even like an eloquent response. It was like, well, you're thinking like a Democrat, not like a Republican. Like, okay, that's what you have to support why you're supporting Trump. Well, Graham really lost it, and it's making a lot of news because it's not like him to really get so mad and scream like that. So what's going on with Lindsey Graham, the guides told me is that if Trump goes down, he goes down. Just like this Walt Nauta, that guy had a career in the military. He could have really just, a young guy, he could have just ridden that carpet right into the sunset and had a great life. But he got sucked up into the Trump narcissistic machine. And now that guy, Walt Nauta, is going to pay. He's just like Weisselberg. He's just like Weisselberg. He's going to pay like Weisselberg. He's going to go to prison just like Weisselberg. I think Lindsey Graham is right there in that same company. I think Lindsey Graham is going to really, he's going to be on trial. He's going to be on trial. It is going to scare the living daylights out of him. I think he's more scared than he's ever been in his entire life. Again, you have to remember, a lot of these politicians are in the untouchable club, right? Things get fixed for them. They may have to step down. The worst possible thing is you have to step down, but yet you go to work for some, not-for-profit that pays you a bunch of money, right? I mean, that's the worst thing that can happen to you. Well, I think Lindsey's crossed the line. The guides are always talking about the line, and they're always talking about how, Bill Barr walked right up to the line. Mike Pence walked right up to the line, but they didn't cross that line that could be the line between legal and illegal. Well, I think that Lindsey Graham might have fallen over the line, and I'm not going to say anything disparaging because I really like to be, as much as I can, respectful, but I think that he may have, he's worried. When I go into his energy, he's truly worried about his safety is the first thing I hear. He's worried about his safety, his physical safety. He's also worried about appeasing or keeping people happy. And he's having to dance faster. He's having to do more. He's on the hook for something. He's co-opted, right? So that's what happened to him. And we often say, and we know this from black and white, you can see it with your own eyes. You don't have to be a psychic, right? That whatever Trump gets involved in dies on the vine. It basically withers away or gets imprisoned. And this is just the beginning of that, you guys. They're taking Trump down first. But give us until the fall. And then all these Republican, well, the majority of them are Republicans. But I've always said, if it's a Democrat, you going too. If there's a Democrat that's been on the take or been mixed up in something they shouldn't have been mixed up in that's not legal, you got to go. I don't care if you're a Republican or a Democrat. I don't care. If you broke a crime, broke a law, did the crime, bye-bye. So that's what's going to be happening in the fall. Perhaps even at the beginning of fall, like September, but definitely the energy suggests October, November. Big surprises, indictments, court cases. Can that? Yeah. Okay. Right. So I was just doing the math and talking to the guides because all I care about is the picture they showed me, which is these people being indicted, meaning Congress people, maybe a senator or two being indicted, and then some of them stepping down. And then we have the opportunity to put maybe one or two more Democrats in because there'll be special elections. Some of the Republicans will be replaced with Republicans. but a few of those Republican seats will be replaced with Democrats. That brings us either one seat over the majority or two seats over the majority. And then you see the bipartisan shift that I've seen next year in April, May, June. This is the timeline, people. This is the timeline. So I was just checking with the guides to make sure that the court date, it was a long conversation. I know it was just a minute, but I had a whole conversation with them about, well, court cases take a long time, like 6 months. If we indict them in October, they're not going to get their court case until August or whenever, May. That's too close to the election. I was having that whole conversation with them. So there's going to be a few people who will be indicted and will not step down. We know who they are, likely, potentially, allegedly, and for entertainment purposes only. MTG, Boebert, those types of people. But there's other people who will step down, maybe because their handlers tell them to. Again, let's stop the light. The light has exposed you. We're going to throw you, you're the sacrificial lamb, so that the light will stop looking, right? That's the energy. If you just use that methodology, they're saying, for figuring out how we're going to go forward, a lot of this stuff will make sense. Okay, Daniel B says, now that the hammer has come down on 45, will we see a year of extreme violence as a result? Well, so the timeline that I saw, if you go back to my videos, right after Trump lost, the timeline that I saw was that I saw extreme violence, I saw quasi-civil war, I saw terrorism, I saw the IRA, the troubles in Northern Ireland, where you had these citizens, quote unquote, I'm saying quote unquote in America, well, we would have quote unquote citizens here in America attacking our own country. I saw all that. I even predicted it would happen on video. And guess what? The powers that be chose a different route. We had the pressure from Jan 6 saying, you've got to convict, you've got to convict. Here's all the evidence, you've got to convict. And yet Garland took an additional year to convict. And the reason he did that was so that we didn't have civil war in our own country. Because if you would have convicted Trump right a year after Biden, a 1 year into Biden's tenure, with all those crazy militias still running around, we would have had severe disruption of our lives and of our economy. Instead, Biden looked at the landscape and said, we've got a runaway economy. Inflation is burning the house down. We need to deal with this. Let's take the long view on Trump. Let's let these Trumpers. What they really did was they started putting Trumpers in jail, right, for the Jan 6. They went after the foot soldiers. They would literally went after the people who just got caught up in this patriotism, this, wrong-headed patriotism. And then the guides always say 6 degrees of Jan 6, don't they? If you're a Republican, there's within 6 people that you know, there's one person within 6 degrees that you know that was at Jan 6. And you are either knowing that that person is serving time, being investigated, or being hunted, or is scared of all of the above. And that has put a chilling effect. It's truly put a chilling effect on a lot of these backyard bullies, these backyard wannabe militia members. It's given us a cooling off time. So that cooling off time has allowed us to now get to this place where we are now, where we're really serious about indictments, investigations, and convicting ex-President Trump. And we can do so with much less violence, much less problems, because January 6th committee, just week after week, put it out there. Then we have all these investigations. We have all of the FBI searches. We have all of that is played out in the public sector. Everybody's aware of it. Now we have DeSantis coming out against Trump, right? So he's really been cooled off. He's not going to be able to instigate the same level of trouble that he was before. What we have to watch for now are the professional militias, the ones that really have the ideology of fascism and the ideology of racism. Those are the ones that we're monitoring now. So no, I don't see huge violence. Now, in Florida, I know people are worried about Tuesday and the courthouse and all of that, but the problem with Florida is it's full of Magas. What are they going to do? Fight each other? You know what I mean? Very little resistance there. There could be some, but mostly everybody is saying stay home, and I think they will. The thing that I'm worried about, and I've said this to you guys too for months, is Atlanta. Fani Willis is going to bring it. She's not only going to bring Trump down, but she's going to bring a lot of people down. A lot of Republicans are going to get caught up in this RICO charges that she's doing. And it's really going to seem like to Republicans that it really is a witch hunt, because it is going to be primarily Republicans, and it's going to be a lot of them. So that's where I would say Atlanta is where I'm worried. I've always been worried. It's a minority city. It's a Democratic city. It's just the kind of place where they really want to make where fascists want to go and mix it up. So that's where I feel like we could have a problem. And I don't even want to get into this, but let's just say I often talk about saboteurs and provocateurs. We know that these people exist. We know that they mix it up in BLM marches, and we know that they're not BLM. We know that they get in there and they do violence and they wreck private property to blame BLM. My screen is flickering. I don't know what is going on, man. But if you see like a bright light come down and you see me like, I don't know if you can see it, but if you see a bright light come down and I just dissipate, well, it was a good run, y'all. It was a good run. If I cross over, I'm going to haunt all of y'all. Just saying. Anyway, I'm going to let that be. I don't see any huge, terrible, bad violence right now, but I would also say don't mix up, don't get in any, I don't know about counter protests right now. I don't think they're, just be careful. I'm sorry to say it, but this is what it is. It is what it is. Be very careful if you go to a protest of any kind. Okay. Woo, spirit animal 1212. All right. Wants to know, is Ivanka, Jared, Don Jr. involved in any of this? Will they also face a federal indictment? You left out Eric, and that's the problem. Eric, let me start in the beginning. I do see Ivanka doing time. I really do. And I'll tell you why I see this, because when I go into her energy, I'm wearing something scratchy, right? I'm not wearing silk. I'm not wearing, $500 blouse. I'm wearing something scratchy, like God, what is, and it itches me, and my skin is too delicate for this material, right? Like I'm itching all over right now. She ain't gonna put that on by choice. So somebody says, here, honey, here's your new Dior that you get to wear. I do think it's a very short-lived time that she spends, and I'm going to tell you guys, you're going to not like any of the news that you get, but it's like the guides said in the very beginning of this video, and obviously this is why they said it. We need to start looking the glasses half full. If Ivanka spends 3 months in prison, there's never another time in our history up till now that this woman would spend time in prison. She literally probably could kill someone and never, ever get framed for it, never get indicted for it, never get convicted for it. So if somebody like Ivanka goes to prison, even for 3 months, I'm going to count that a win for justice. Okay. Send her lotion. She's going to need it. Jared, I do see him now. Jared is a problem. I feel like he's gonna abscond. He's gonna go to Qatar. He's gonna go to Saudi Arabia. He's gonna go to Israel. He's gonna go somewhere, and it's gonna be a big diplomatic problem for the United States. I feel like Jared is the one that's going to be on the run. I'm not saying he won't do time, but I'm saying it doesn't look like a straight A to B process. I think Ivanka's like, okay, 3 months, I can live with 3 months, right? Like I can do that. If this will all go away forever, I can do that, right? Because I think the other option is really years. I mean, I think it is a travesty that she's only going to do months, but it is what it is. We're just going to, again, we're going to have to count our glass half full. Now, Don Jr., they want to talk about something different for him. He's in different type of trouble. He's in more legal. They just said legal, but is it criminal or is it financial? I just don't see Don Jr. in prison. I might be wrong, but I don't see it. But I do see him being ruined financially, is what they just said. Ruined financially. Now, Eric, I've always seen Eric being the kid holding the bag and all the other people running off and him not knowing what to do. Like he's the guy that they have the spotlight and the deer in headlights look, and he's like this, and he's just like catatonic and he can't run. So the family's like, yeah, throw him under the bus, you know? But I don't see Eric. Oh my gosh. Okay. Eric might. Eric has always felt separate. Again, the kid holding the bag and all his family's like run off. Right. And the fact that he's separate could mean that he becomes some sort of state witness, or yeah, I mean, I'm just going to call it a state witness because they have the goods on Eric. Eric signed things he should not have signed. He believed, he trusted everyone. He had that blind faith. Don Jr. is wily. He's more street smart than Eric. And I think that sometimes Don said, yeah, have Eric sign this, right? I'm starting to feel sorry for Eric. That's bizarre. Okay, I'm going to move on before I literally discuss myself and release. Okay, Moxie Cha-Cha says, thanks for keeping us sane and hopeful in these last few years. Thanks, Moxie Cha-Cha. Now that TFG, the former guy, 45, is done, thank you for saying that he's done. He's done, you guys. The man is done. I just need him to live long enough to go to wherever that padded institution room I see is. But I don't think he's going to make it because he's too, to be honest with you guys, he's too much of a threat to people that have money, to his handlers. Once he's not useful anymore, he's a threat. It's kind of like when, I don't really want to say that, but it's kind of like when a farm animal stops producing and you just, that there's no reason for them anymore, if you understand what I'm saying. Okay, let me move on. The question is, now that TFG is done, who in his crime family will be next? Ivanka, Jared, Don Jr. So that's what I just said. I think that Ivanka is really on the hook for something. Jared is going to flee. Don, I've already answered that question, but thank you, Moxie Cha-Cha. Ron Brock says, do you and your team have any uplifting messages for Ukraine, who are now fighting a tough fight to kick out the invading Russians, and who have just suffered a huge disaster from their major dam being blown up? Right, I'm sure you guys have heard about that, the dam being blown up, and it's flooded a huge swath of Ukraine, and there's problems with that. I mean, for one thing, that's a tactical thing that Ukraine army cannot use that land to attack because it's underwater. Number two, the citizens that live there are flooded and having to be rescued. Number three, they don't have any water to drink. Number four, that reservoir fed the farmlands, which also feed a lot of Europe. Ukraine is called the breadbasket of Europe because of so many of the wheat and things they grow there. So, but the good news is this, there's lots of good news, to be honest with you. I think that it's really sad when you have to pick the better of two evils, but Russia could have blown up Zaporizhzhia, the nuclear plant. They could have launched a dirty bomb, or they could blow up the dam. They chose blowing up the dam. They knew that of all their options, this was the one that was going to get them the least amount of flack from NATO. So that's what they chose. So it also shows that they're aware that the world is watching, and that if they cross a certain line, NATO will get involved and then summarily kick their butts. Okay. So that's something to note. Now, another thing is that's really, really good is that this group that they call partisans. There's these Russian citizens that have turned against Putin, that have turned against the Russia military. They call themselves partisans. They are literally fighting within Russia. There's literally military war going on, civil unrest within Russia right now. They are blowing up train tracks. They're attacking Russian military institutions. It's saboteurs. Okay. So that's good. That's helping that because Russia doesn't really have the ability to deal with this on the inside and then to be in a foreign country attacking them as well. So this is really spreading the Russian military and the intel and everything very thin. And it also is creating a crack within the Russian citizens, within their communities, right? They're starting to say, you took all our men and put them into a meat grinder, and now we're unhappy with you, right? So that is happening. Then within Ukraine, the Ukrainians have launched their offensive. They are making real headway on the ground. The mud season is over. They're able to really traverse that land very quickly. They have the tanks that they've gotten from various countries that have upgraded their abilities. But I'll tell you what's coming, and I don't know how it's coming, but I know it's coming. Planes, fighter jets, many fighter jets are coming. And the guides have, and I mean, we know this also factually, right? We know that Ukrainian fighter pilots have been in the United States. They've been in Western countries learning English and learning to fly Western planes. We know this. The problem is a lot of the West has been reluctant to give them planes because they didn't want Ukraine to attack Moscow or St. Petersburg. They didn't want Ukraine to go into Russia and attack Russia. So again, the guides always say, this is like telling Ukraine, put your arm behind your back, now fight, right? It's wrong. I know it's wrong. I'm not saying it's right, but it is what it is. The international community is trying to avoid a full all-out war with Russia. So instead, they're fighting a proxy war. They're giving Ukraine a lot of money and a lot of war artillery and weapons, and they're saying, fight the war for us. Sad, but true. However, I see these planes. I see squadrons, flights. I don't know, is there a flight of planes or a squadron of planes arriving? And it is a game changer, and it is over. So what I particularly like about what I'm seeing right now is the timeline that the guides suggested way back in the beginning of this attack on Ukraine, I did 3 videos, and you can see them. And they said exactly what is happening. Exactly what is happening. The guides predicted every single part of this. The only thing we got wrong was the timing of it. I really thought that the timing would be faster. Timing is really impossible to gauge. But what I really like about what I'm seeing now is one of the outcomes was that there would be infighting in Russia, that there would be civil unrest in Russia, that there would be protest, that the interior of Russia would fall apart. I thought at the time that it would be because of lack of food or lack of resources that would cause this. And perhaps that is just now starting to happen, right? I don't know, but or perhaps that's one of the factors that's causing this to happen. But I really think it's the loss of life. I mean, the loss of life is way over World War II. And the guides said this as well. Literally, they have lost hundreds of thousands of men. And they took these men from the smaller settlements. They didn't come from Moscow. They didn't come from the upper class. All those men escaped Russia and went to live somewhere else. So they've taken the men from all of the other towns. And you recall when they first went into Ukraine that these soldiers were literally stealing toilets because they didn't have toilets where they lived. Their community didn't have toilets. They were literally taking things and going and shipping them back to their homeland. So these people don't have much. But what they had was their sons and their husbands and their fathers, and they've lost that. And now they realize that this draft is coming for the next higher level of citizen. They're starting to go get the college kids. So there's unrest in Russia. And that's what I saw happening. When that unrest happens, that's when I see Putin leaving. That's when I see this new energy coming in, which is not great. It's a military energy. Either it's a military person or a military-like person. And they put the kibosh and they lock down Russia. They make it a police state because they have to, because it's out of control. They cannot control their citizens. So they make it a police state, and that's when they withdraw from Ukraine. So that is the timeline that I saw year and a half ago. And I've been waiting and watching to see when it would start coming into focus, or if the free will choices that people were making would allow that timeline to really be a timeline that we would see in reality. Okay. So this gives me hope that timeline is indeed the direction we're going. So those partisans give me a lot of hope that we're really coming closer to the end of this. It really could be over in a year. It could be over in 6 months. It depends on when they get these planes. And the other thing I saw a timeline that I saw was I saw blue helmets, and I didn't know what that was. And you guys in the viewers' comments, you guys told me that it was UN, right? Wasn't it UN, not United Nations? Who is it that wears the blue helmets? Anyway, there's 2 people that I get mixed up. There's United Nations and the other organization. But they're already talking to that other organization with the blue helmets to come and help with the flooding. And you wouldn't have them there in an active war zone. So the fact that they're talking to that organization to help with the flooding also helps me see that this timeline, that we're literally coming into that timeline, which gives me a lot of hope for Ukraine. I've always said, the guides have always said, Ukraine is the phoenix that rises out of the ashes. The guides have always said Ukraine will get Crimea back. Ukraine will get the Donetsk. They'll get the whole border with Russia back. They've said this from the very first video. This will happen. They will get their entire country back. The part that was annexed a decade or whatever ago, by Russia, they will get that back. Okay, so I do see Ukraine, a positive end result. I've always seen glass modern buildings being rebuilt in those towns that have been razed. It's a terrible price to pay. It shouldn't have been done. It's a crime against humanity. The entire thing was a crime against humanity, but Ukraine does rise from the ashes. Russia becomes an authoritarian police state, even worse than sort of like on par a little bit with North Korea. And then it breaks free of that in about 3 to 5 years and becomes more of a social democracy. Okay. Woo! I'm going to keep moving on. NH Mountain Dancer says MTG made notes after seeing information in a skiff, which you guys know what a skiff is. It actually looks like one of those semi-truck trailers. That's the shape of it, but it's a building. It's not a big building. It's a contained building that you can't have listening devices in. It's supposed to be completely protected. You can't bring your phone in. You can only bring a pad and paper in. So she went into the skiff and she disseminated the God, some weird energy is happening. My desk just went thunk, I swear. Okay, onward. She disseminated information against federal law, which she did. She went on Twitter or TV or whatever video, and she said, this is classified information. I'm sharing it with the public because it needs to be shared, right? So your question is, plus before in one of her committee meetings, she talked about classified info and was trying to get a military officer to comment on that info. Yes, that's true. Will there be any repercussions for her giving out classified information? Well, I think she's been barred, right? Didn't she lose her, was it her or Boebert? One of those two just got notified that they've had their security level reduced. I don't know if it was her or Boebert. Will she face repercussions specifically for the classified information? I heard no. That's just sad. But I do think that MTG they're telling me it's complicated. It has to do with House rules. This is what I'm being told. I have no idea. It's similar to how the Supreme Court gets to govern themselves. They get to decide if they themselves have broken any ethic rules. There's no other outside group that oversees them. They're telling me the House is the same way. They have their own internal ethics committees. And guess what that internal ethics committee is made of? Probably George Santos is on it. So, you're not going to get any help there, right? But I will say that not to lose hope, because I do see MTG going down. She is earmarked. They're using the word earmarked to go down. She's on a list of people to be investigated for entertainment purposes only and allegedly. Okay, let's move on. Fed Girl says, question, even though we know Trump will not become the president and that Biden will win again, should another Republican become a president in the future, will they pardon Trump for his crimes? If another Republican becomes president in the future, will they pardon Trump for his crimes? He's not going to be alive, you guys. I don't know if he's going to be alive in 6 months. I don't know if he's going to be alive in 4 months. They just keep saying I hear a voice saying he's no longer useful. When you're not useful and you know too much, you're a threat. Now, will he be unalived in a way of a JFK way? No, he's not going to be in a JFK way. Although you have to understand the energies that are controlling allegedly and using these leaders, these American traitors, what they really want, besides, oh, I'll take this classified document. Yeah, I'll take this. Sure. What they really want is the downfall of democracy, the downfall of America, because we make them look bad. When everybody wants to come to America because you can be anything or be anybody or whatever people think, it makes their totalitarian, authoritarian, broken, failed state country look bad. And they don't, it's a threat to their power. We are a threat to their power. Our freedom is a threat to their power. So whatever they can do to make us look bad, or to make us look like we're fallible or we're terrible or we're not really free, that works for them. And I'm talking about China, all of those countries, right? So if you can make it questionable and start a bunch of conspiracy theories, and we all know the Republicans and their QAnon-ness. So do you understand what I'm saying? Can you understand how this would be better for them? It's almost getting to the point where it would be better if he was unalived, so that they could start all the conspiracy theories and get Americans biting each other again. Do you see? Do you get the picture? So no, I'm not worried about somebody pardoning him, because he's not going to be here to pardon. What I would be worried about would be a future Republican president. God bless us all if we're alive for that. Giving him some sort of honor posthumously, like giving him some kind of medal of honor. I would just literally have to have a barf bag. I mean, I would literally throw up if I was walking down the sidewalk. So that's what I would worry about. Not pardoning him. He's not going to be around. He's not. I'm telling y'all right now, he ain't gonna be around. Okay. It's just a matter of time, and a matter of when he crosses that line to less useful or more useful, alive or hanging out with Ivana. Just saying. Okay. Kate Hawkins says, what are the odds that Jack has a second case waiting in the wings regarding spying, etc.? I figure he gamed out the chances of Cannon hearing the case. You're right, Kate. You're absolutely right. They knew that if Cannon did something unethical or whatever, that they have more. We said it earlier. They reminded me he's loaded, right? There's lots of cases. They're not going to pin all their hopes on one case. As a matter of fact, this is the easiest case. This is in some ways, it was the easiest case to bring, they're saying. In another way, it's easiest case to get a conviction on, because the man is on tape, his own voice admitting crimes. So good luck, Judge Cannon. Good luck. Okay, so yeah, I agree, Kate. Absolutely. They are gaming this out. That's a really good way to describe it. That this is a big operation. Think of it as a big operation where they have Trump, and then they have his lawyers, and then they have his associates, and then they have Congress people. This is kind of how I see it. It's like it gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger before pretty soon you go into that RICO where it scoops up everybody. I mean, everybody gets an indictment, one for you, one for you. We're not going to leave anybody out. We're going to give you all an indictment. And we're going to give you a chance to show up in court and prove yourself innocent. Go ahead. This is the United States of America, right? We should all remind people that it was a jury that indicted Trump. It wasn't Biden. It wasn't the DOJ. It wasn't Jack Smith. It was people that live in Florida, indicted this man. Not people that live in DC, not people that live in Atlanta, people that live in Florida. So, okay, let me just do a few more, and then I will do part 2. I will do a whole nother video part 2, because there's some really good questions in here that I'm not going to get to because the guides are long. Long-winded. Okay. Yoga by Jones says, will they find more classified documents in Trump's other locations? People want to talk about Bedminster nonstop. There seems to be some legal eagle thinking that the statute of limitations is run out on Bedminster. I don't know. I don't know if the guides believe that. I think that they're telling me right now, Bedminster is in play, not will be in play, is in play. Something, oh, it's in play. Oh, they mean for entertainment purposes only, and allegedly, they mean that there are current potential crimes happening there now. That's what they said. But I will say, and you know, I have to walk a thin line between conspiracy theories, right? Because sometimes it's not a conspiracy theory. You know, it's not a conspiracy theory that Trump had these documents in his bathroom, right? That's not a conspiracy theory. That happened. We have pictures. But sometimes theories that are outlandish like this get called conspiracy theories. But I'm telling you, there is something in that coffin, in Ivana's coffin. There's something in there. I'm telling you, there's something in there. So I think they're going to find something in there. I think eventually they will dig it up. There's a more polite name for it, but I can't think of it right now. And they're calling it inter, but it's not inter. Inter is not digging enough. Anyway, I don't know what the guides are saying. Dig it up. They're going to dig it up. And they're going to dig up a lot of that area. And if it's not that area, I've talked to you guys about this a lot. They've buried something near a highway that's also near a barely navigable waterway. So it's either like a small river or something that's navigable by a small boat. I see it. It's grass. There's something buried there. There could be a shack. I've told you guys this. A well, a pumping station or a utility station, or some kind of shack or small building. Maybe not a shack, but a small building. And then there's land, and then there's there's also a grassy place where you could land an airplane, like a Cessna, a small airplane, like a field, near a highway and a waterway. They like to have multiple ways to get there. If they need to bring in a John boat or a small boat, they can. If they need to land a helicopter or a Cessna, they can. Even an ultralight airplane, they're showing me an ultralight. And if they need to get there via a highway, I'm not saying the highway's next to this. I'm saying there's a highway within, say, 15-minute drive. And I don't mean a 15-minute bumpy Jeep drive. I mean a 15-minute gravel or very passable dirt road, one in which you could travel 30 miles an hour on. Now, if that's not detail, I don't know what is. I've seen this. I've seen it. I don't know if that's in the golf course or if that's somewhere else. The golf course, this could be in Florida. What I'm seeing could be, the second place could be in Florida, because I get a sense that it's humid, that it could be in South Carolina. It's someplace in the South where it's humid. And there would be like a river that, like a slow type river. Could be Florida. So yeah, there's multiple places, dear. And yeah, they're going to find them. But this looks like, it really looks like fall, like September through April, like fall through the winter. When they're digging this up, I don't see snow. So that again means a southern place. Anyway, yeah, I just keep seeing Ivana's grave. I don't know what's in there. I could dig a little deeper into it. So I'm going to do one more question, and then I'm going to do 2 more questions, and then we're going to be part 2. C. Evans says, once Trump is indicted, will the FBI finally raid properties outside of Florida? Will they raid Mar-a-Lago again? Okay, I can't use the word raid. I'm going to use the word search, because I don't think it's a raid. I think it's a court-ordered search. Yes, they are, because I just saw them digging up ground. So they're going to be searching Bedminster. They're going to be searching all his properties, and that's potentially, it's a very long story. I'm not going to get into it, but they have to be careful, you guys. That's why I'm going to do a whole nother video just on that, on the fact why the DOJ is slow walking some things, why they're gingerly tiptoeing around some things. They just don't want civil unrest. They don't want that. And they know that they're going to have to face it, but they want to be prepared for it. And they want to flush out as many of the crazies as they can. So that's why they're doing it the way they are. That's why this is the first indictment against Trump. That's why they asked Fani Willis to go last. Longtime viewers, y'all know what I'm going to say, right? The feds reach over Fani Willis, Tish James, Alvin Bragg, all those people, and say, we're going first. And this is what's happened. And that's what they told you 6 months ago. But there's a reason why they don't want to search all, they don't want to do all this. They have a plan. It's a master plan. It's a master game. There's a reason they're doing it this way. It's not that they're afraid. It's not that they're letting him get off. It's that they've decided this is how we're going to do it. These are the steps, and this is what we're going to do. So, hey, thanks to you guys. If you stayed to the end, I really appreciate you. You deserve some kind of, you probably need some water. You're probably dehydrated. You might need a snack. I mean, I don't know. I feel like we were on a march, a forced march. I feel like this was a marathon. That's what I feel like. This was a marathon. So thanks so much for staying to the end. Thanks for supporting me. Thanks for watching. Thanks for sending in your questions. I really appreciate it. If you're new here, well, you now got your stripes. You've lasted to the end of one of my videos. So now you're one of us, whether you want to be or not. Take really, really good care of yourself. It is going to be up, down, around. It's going to be like a roller coaster attached to the tilt-a-whirl. It's just the energy is all over the place. Okay. So what we want to do is really take good care of yourself, because these Republicans, these Magas, they're going to be freaking out. 1 minute, they're going to be saying, I hate Trump. The next minute, they're going to be saying, I hate DeSantis. The next minute, they're going to be saying, I like DeSantis. The next minute, they're just not going to know which way is up, because, well, they've been lied to so many times. There is no up. They don't even know what's up anymore. So when your sense of reality has been warped to such a degree, you can understand how they would just really be confused. And that, my friends, is why you're going to hear them say, I'm just not watching politics. I'm not watching Fox News. I don't care about any of it. I just don't care anymore. I don't care anymore. When you hear your fellow Republicans say they don't care anymore, and then they say all of them are bad, you know, you're a Democrat, but the Democrats are bad, the Republicans are bad, they're all bad. We've won. We have won, because they're not going to vote. They're so confused. They're so distraught. Their hero is not their hero. They don't have a hero. They don't know what to believe. They're just gonna sit it out. They're just gonna sit it out. Game over, Republicans, game over. The only ones left are going to be the ones that are really, really drunk the Kool-Aid, the QAnon people. Those are the ones that we cannot convert. They're never going to be converted back to humans, back to normal, rational thinking humans. I don't believe that. I've often seen there being some kind of deprogramming centers. I've talked about this before. Some of them may need to check into that. Some of them will never stop believing in Q. Okay. And if you've got a family member that like that, I'm sorry. I don't see them really snapping to reality. Okay, now I really am cutting this video off now. Take really good care of yourself. We'll talk again real soon. Part 2 is coming soon. So keep your eyes and ears peeled for it. We'll talk soon. For entertainment purposes only.